Canada, home to peace and security. Canada has an image of bringing peace and security to flailing countries. Wherever we go, peace and security follow, right? Wrong! I'm Deanna Zed, and this is Canada and Canadian shit. Now, according to journalist and activist Yves Engler and Professor Tyler Shipley, Canada's key role in supporting the June 28th, 2009 coup d'etat in Honduras contradicts the peace and love rhetoric that we're so familiar with. In fact, Canada's imperialistic positioning in world affairs demands commitment to imposing and maintaining hyper-neoliberalism, Chicago Boys' style economics in Honduras and other South American countries. Now, if you're not too sure about what neoliberalism is, I invite you, one, to read The Shock Doctrine by Naomi Klein, or if you want a quicker fix, you can go to the website of CorpWatch. I had a blank. CorpWatch.org. That's CorpWatch.org. And search neoliberalism. They have a great page that explains it all. Now, this new imperialism is a violent and a vigorous effort to create new spaces of profit as capital finds itself unable to dynamically grow and is, therefore, at risk of stagnating. It must find new sources of profit. The aggressive Canadian capitalistic class, assisted by the local Honduran elites, the levers of state power are twisted to their benefit, exploiting the land and its people, extracting the profits. Now, in this system, citizens are consumers. The market ensures that everyone gets what they deserve. And of course, the World Trade Organization, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and complicit governments are helping out this neoliberal dumpster fire in so many countries. And what happens is, if you're poor, fuck you. And if you're rich, come on in and just get richer. Now, you may simply think or even speak out and argue that Canada is dependent of the big bully, which is the United States. We're just, holding his coat while the states are doing their shit all over. But no, Canada is not as innocent as that. We certainly are acting complices in what's happening in Honduras and in so many other countries. Now, Canada's bad behavior is a reflection of this dependency. Our dependency of the USA is overemphasized. We're not dependent on the USA. I understand that we have a lot of trade going on with them, but there's a whole other world out there that we trade with. And so we're not as dependent on the US as, the media would like us to think. Our economic survival is not uniquely tied to being their compadre. Canada has chosen a deeper integration with the States, with goals that overlap but are not dominated by the States. Canadian capital is searching around the world for profitable outlets. Canadian foreign policy is becoming more aggressive in creating these spaces, be it in Afghanistan, Haiti, Colombia, Bolivia, Africa, Brazil, Venezuela, Chile, Honduras, and elsewhere. Now, just a really small history, and not going back too far either. Honduras was occupied by the States in the 80s, and in the 90s saw the rebuilding of Honduras's social movements in response to the beginnings of the neoliberal measures of the 80s. In the mid 2000s, the Manuel Zelaya government listened to the people of Honduras, and in doing so, he gave free education to children, subsidies to small farmers. He lowered bank interest rates. Minimum wage was increased by 80%. School meals were guaranteed to the children of poor families. Poverty was reduced by almost 10%. State help was given to 200,000 families in extreme poverty, and free electricity was given to those most in need. Now, I imagine that these progressive policies threatened the profitability of some of these largest Canadian companies, like gold mining, textile manufacturing, and tourism companies. So after the coup, then Canadian Foreign Affairs Minister and ex-journalist Peter Kent, I remember watching him on TV when I was young. You know, he's got this real trustworthy feel to him. What a fucking asshole, because he's a conservative. So anyway, I do not listen to TV news anymore. It's just bullshit. We're being lied to from the left. We're being lied to from the right. It's just a shitstorm. So please get your news on credible sites. Peter Kent strongly suggested that Zelaya not return, and went on to congratulate the new president, Porfirio Pepe Lobo, and who was elected because the people were either threatened, kidnapped, disappeared, aggressed. And so the people protested by not going to the polling stations. So the polling stations were empty. They were protesting against what they thought was a dictatorship. Even the union leader frontrunner, who was running as an independent candidate, was bludgeoned on the head by a police baton at a demonstration. Canada ignored the boycott and lauded the relatively peaceful and orderly elections run free and fairly, with a strong turnout and with no major violence. And there was a complete media blackout in the Honduran news, which was pretty much owned by the corporatist right-winger oligarchs. And the few progressive or left-wing media outlets were vandalized, and journalists were either threatened, beaten up, disappeared, or found murdered. And in one case, the daughter of a journalist had been kidnapped, and she was found, thankfully, and was kidnapped a second time, and then unfortunately was found dead. So it's a horrible situation in so many countries for the truth to get out. Kent said nothing about the assassination of activists, made no mention of the crackdown of critical media. And they ended up creating the Truth Commission, which if you look it up, it's just bullshit. And well, who was the Canadian commissioner in this Truth Commission? Well, his name was Michael Kurgan. And get this, he was a former member of the Canadian Foreign Service and then acting legal consultant for Bennett Jones. Bennett Jones, surprise, surprise, is a firm that specializes in energy and resource extraction and has represented Canadian companies like the infamous Barrick Gold. Barrick Gold is a Canadian gold mining company based in Vancouver that has a horrible reputation in any country that it goes and mines. Now, in the second half, which I'll be doing next week, I'll be delving more into the Canadian companies and their interests and the shit that they're stirring up in Honduras. So in the meantime, I thank you for being here. Like if you like it. Don't like it if you didn't like it. If you're still here, wow, yay. Thank you. Thank you very much. If you're still here, that's like awesome. Leave a comment if you want to comment. Share if you think that this is worthwhile sharing. And I really wish you real peace and love and real happiness. So until next time, I'm Deanna Zed, and this is Canada and Canadian shit.